Olders, what do you hate about kids these days? 30-year-old here. I feel kind of bad for them. I think I was from the last generation that grew up with the freedom to do stupid things without serious repercussion. When I was young, my parents didn't know where I was at all times. They might have had a general idea, but I didn't have a cell phone and I wasn't accessible 24/7. I would simply say I was going to hang out with friend X and I'd give them a call on a house phone or payphone if I needed to talk to them. My mum was fine with it too. She had one general rule: don't be stupid, which means if I was going to do something, that nobody was to get hurt and don't get caught by the police. Not to say I was a little poo kid, but I wasn't afraid to try new things and experiment. Nowadays, I think this is what they call free-range parenting. And I don't know if I would even be able to do that with my children, if I had any. Everybody seems so uptight about constant safety and security that there's no room for kids to make mistakes on their own. Hold up. You're 30 years old and you think you're old. Wait, how old are millennials? Am I a millennial? I'm 25. No, I just Googled. Millennials are 27 to 42, so actually you're talking about me, bish. Joking. I grew up the same. I was out doing what I wanted. If I wanted to get hold of mum, it'd be from a landline. I used to knock on kids' doors after they were coming out to play. It was that kind of childhood, which I'm glad. I've had the best of both worlds, really. Through no fault of their own, kids these days are weak as frick. They're allergic to every fricking thing, especially peanuts. They fall the frick apart if they think you're criticising them. Near zero recess, near zero self-advocacy skills. I'm a teacher and I love kids. But geez. Yeah, I agree. And also, there's no such thing as joking anymore. Like, everyone suddenly just starts crying. Like, why is everyone so sensitive nowadays? Chiming in here. I'm only 23, so not that old. But I have siblings a decade younger than me, and it's totally different to how I remember it. My childhood took place in this awkward transition from almost total freedom and hover parenting. My parents were right in the middle of conservative and liberal in terms of their devices, but I was able to do whatever I felt like, really. Get bored? Go outside and get home before the streetlights were on, with no police involved, and there's no foul. Now, my two brothers are gearing up for the start of high school soon, and they have no freedom at all, with no merit of losing it. They never just play because they want to go outside. We live in a great community and there is no reason they can't just leave and come back sometime later with no permission, in my opinion. In other words, my younger siblings lost almost all opportunities to explore because they lost that privilege before they even knew they had it. It's sad, really. They're stuck in a prison with a HD TV and video games. Why the hell do we think kids are lacking motivation when all they're allowed to do is exist in most cases? I know I'm not nearly as old as other commenters here, but I think I'm old enough to see it and young enough to have felt the walls of a protected childhood shrinking. But also, I hate music that kids listen to. I think most of it's trash. Do you know, it's so weird, right? Because my boyfriend's nieces and nephews, all they do is go on their iPads and phones, right? It's mad because they're quite young as well. The majority are all under 10, okay? And that was never how I grew up. I don't think I had my first phone until I was in like year 7 or 8 maybe, I think. And it wasn't an iPad or an iPhone. It was an LG Cookie, remember those bad boys? Or a Motorola Razr, those like thin flip phones. But yeah, it was never an iPad or an iPhone. I think I got my first iPhone in year 9 or 10 maybe, I can't remember. But yeah, it's crazy. Instant gratification. I've seen them fuming if someone doesn't immediately answer a text. They need to experience sitting around the phone all day waiting for someone to call back, only to find out your mum has been on the dial-up the whole time playing Slingo. The notion that millennials are this technology savvy, are born knowing how to write a database generation. The vast majority of people born 2000 onward have no idea how their machines work. They're buried behind so many layers of metaphor that they don't even know what a file manager is, because everything is kiddie packaged for them into libraries. I don't necessarily mind this in of itself. After all, I drive a car and I know next to nothing about it. But the stereotype that kids these days are all tech prodigies annoys the rubbish out of me. The generation that probably had the most overall exposure to the way that computers actually work would be people who were 12 to 20, anywhere in the 1985 to 1998 range. Not to say that those individuals knew and understood what was happening as if they had a CS degree. They were still working on several layers of metaphors. But in terms of widespread exposure to base operations within the software, I don't think any other generation competes for the most tech-savvy. I'm sorry, what? You lost me at tech-savvy. The idea that they have invented all the new technology that they actually found, ready-made for them, created by the generation that they decry as useless, and the source of all their jobless troubles. I guess it's not something I hate so much as something I don't understand. But kids today, and I mean kids, not teenagers, have no concept of spending time alone. Like, when I was a kid, I would spend hours reading in my room or playing with my brother, making up games with stuffed animals, playing baseball in the yard, trying and failing to make stuff out of random plants, whatever. Today, it's like everyone I know with kids has to constantly be with them, physically, 24/7. Like, oh, I have to wake up every weekend morning at 6 because that's when my kids wake up. Lol. My brother and I got up early, went downstairs, put a tape in the VCR and entertained ourselves until my parents got up to hog the TV. Sure, we occasionally did some stupid rubbish like shove marshmallows in the toaster or give the cat milk, which made her fart a lot. But mostly, we just played together and bickered happily. Or I would read or colour by myself while he read or coloured by himself. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great when people put time and effort into doing stuff with their kids and spending time together and not just plunking them down in front of the TV, tablet or whatever all the time. It's just strange to me that every single thing they do has to resolve completely around the kids, and that children have no concept of entertaining themselves. How detached they are from each other. I was out to dinner at a pretty nice restaurant a few months ago, and all of the kids were watching movies on their tablets. No interactions with each other. They didn't care about the wonderful food they had in front of them. They were sitting there missing out on a great experience. Yeah, see, this is another thing. I do get scared of how much life that children are going to miss out on because they're just never present, because their eyes are just glued to their phones or their tablets. Like, that's one thing I'm so grateful for, the amount of time I was able to spend with my family and friends, and I was so present in that moment. I do worry for the kids of our generation. Their belief that luxuries are necessities. Watch home shows like House Hunters, 20-somethings with their lips curled saying rubbish like, ugh, this is so outdated. I couldn't live with dark granite. As if you need everything new and modern to even survive. My grandmother had one pot and a wood stove and she fed my mum and thrived. My mum has the same linoleum and formica she did when they moved into the house and it looks pristine because she took care of it. My brother and I ate like kings. My home still has the same kitchen it did when it was built in 1971. We'd love to update it. We hope to update it, but we don't need to update it. We have other priorities, and we understand the difference between luxury and necessity. People that are too useless to even Google the answer to their own questions now. It's never been easier to learn and find information, and yet people are increasingly posting on Facebook questions that can be answered via search with ease. A lot seems to be younger people coming into study/work. Yeah, I mean, take a leaf out of my book. I literally done this at the beginning of this video. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video, and have a wonderful day. Referring to millennials, hate is a strong word, but rather what I see as their biggest downfall is the lack of initiative. I regularly see this attitude that I'll do exactly what is asked of me, nothing more, nothing less. The problem with this is that it forces people to micromanage them. They were raised by helicopter parents that held their hand through everything and ensured that they would never fall or face hardship. So now they're in the workforce and expecting someone to hold their hand through everything. This makes their managers micromanage the poo out of everything they do. They're constantly being watched so their manager knows when they're ready for the next assignment or making sure they're busy. And this in turn makes people feel oppressed, disrespected, and controlled by the man, for lack of a better term. And this mindset carries over into politics and social life. They have the mentality that they dislike or distrust the established powers, yet at the same time, they rely on them for everything. They feel like they're entitled to never be poor, hungry, or uncomfortable, and it's the responsibility of the establishment to ensure that never happens. Another byproduct is that they don't ask questions. I have employees that I've discovered searching Google for information how to do certain things in proprietary programs we use at work. The very people that wrote this program are just down the hall, and people that have been working with it for years are in the offices 10 feet away. And they are searching Google and fricking things up because of it. The baby boomers are retiring at a rate of 7K a day, and they're taking a lot of tribal knowledge with them because the millennials either don't trust them, are averse to human interaction, or they're just so accustomed to having all information at their fingertips that they aren't used to asking for help. The older generations often take this as they just don't care since they never ask questions. They think they know it all. It's very unfortunate because this generation is some of the most intelligent, creative, and generally likable people. They have so much potential that it's just wasted in a lot of cases. They have the knowledge and ability to really make a difference in this world for the better, but they just don't have the initiative to put their abilities to work. Or their environment, helicopter parents and dependence on the internet, has conditioned them to remain so introverted. Always on their phones. I have a smartphone, I get it, but I'm not on the thing when interacting with other humans or when I have real stuff to do. Or work. There's this 20-something that is always on his phone. He tries to be sly about it like he's not watching another video, but nope. His daddy is an untouchable, so this kid's boss can't even do much about it without repercussions. I feel like no one can think critically anymore or synthesize information. It seems like with instant information, the ability to transform it is going by the wayside. Also, I saw a 2-year-old jabbing her pudgy little fingers at a smartphone and wondered if kids even play outside anymore. A 2-year-old? Okay, that's super young. Thing is though, this is how they're reading nowadays as well. They're reading from tablets. Get a book, babe. Come on. They're a whole lot like we were in my youth. Same cockiness, same insecurities, same sense of entitlement, and same romantic idea of what's fair. But if I advertise to 1,000 teens that I'll pay $50 for one of them to mow my lawn, there will be dead silence and no takers. Then I up it to $100, still nobody. I tried it on my neighborhood network site. We could have jumped all over that when I was young. I can't wrap my head around why this might be. Can someone explain? Probably because they're too embarrassed to be seen mowing a lawn. Any other takers? It doesn't enrage me or anything, but the "will you peel my orange for me" attitude this generation has is pretty annoying. Like asking instead of Googling, then getting mad if someone asks why they didn't Google. Why ask a bunch of unreliable random strangers who LBJ is when you can just look it up and get a more accurate answer faster? It's not child to ask you to do your own laundry, young man. It's time you start taking some responsibility around here. I seriously don't get it. It's not even just an age thing because I didn't act that way when I was young, and I don't know many other people my age who did either. Just do the fricking thing yourself. It's easier on everyone. I was working at a summer science program for teens this past June, which I attended myself many years back and loved. In large part, I loved it because I met so many like-minded people there who I was very good friends with for years afterwards when there. Anyway, hate is a strong word, but I was really disappointed to see how many people were wrapped up in texting and talking to their friends back home nonstop, instead of to each other, and then just sitting around reading Reddit when there were no friends back home to talk to. It just seemed like a shame to me to have this wonderful opportunity to meet new people and then just not take full advantage of it. Nothing. I think the kids are doing fine. Any kid that's bad is a direct result of their parenting or schooling. It's the adults that are fricking up, not the children. These kids are being raised in a society where they can communicate with their peers instantly. That's amazing and is going to bring about a great wave of acceptance in the future. Okay, different way to look at it. We love an opinion. The knee-jerk assumption that every headline, no matter the source, is reputable and automatically believes every soundbite they hear. Very few people actually question the information that is so readily available anymore. They read the headline and post the first opinion that comes to mind without doing any research or even asking what the source is. I'm extremely jealous of all the technology that our kids take for granted as always having been there. At the same time, our society has become so compartmentalized and specialized that they're going to struggle to find their niche. For example, I was an English major who made my way into HR and then recruiting. Didn't get my PHR certification until 5 years after starting working in the HR field. Now you need to have a HR management degree and the PHR before you can get an entry-level HR position. So instead of someone learning general education requirements and then being able to move into a specialization later in their career, the kids are supposed to pick that specialization extremely early. I can't imagine how hard that is. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.